September 17th, 2019, Harris County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. And we will begin with our invocation. If you will bow your heads, please. Lord, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you, Lord, for the blessings of this week and look forward to more the rest of the week. Lord, we want to ask for a hedge of protection against those who defend us, the military, our first responders who keep this county safe, and our citizens as they go about their daily business. We pray, Lord, that we will make the best decisions for this county, that you will provide us with the wisdom and even the guidance that we need today. We thank you again, Lord, for all of these blessings that we have, and we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. And if you'll stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on our agenda tonight is the minutes of the regular session of September the 3rd, 2019. Is there a motion? There is a motion. Is there a second? Second. There is a second. Are there any changes, discussions, or questions? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Nancy, is there an appearance of citizens?
One person did sign up, but they signed up for this next topic that's already, the public hearing's already been held and closed.
Okay. Under old business, we have the special use permit that was submitted by Brian Devine from Verizon Wireless. The public hearing was held on September the 3rd of this year, with action being tabled by Commissioner Grant due to concern about coverage for citizens, the exit being in the fall zone, and possible tower relocation. We have someone from Verizon. The applicant is, as I said, Bruce Devine from Verizon Wireless. The location is the northwest corner on Georgia Highway 18 and Interstate 185. It is a special use permit application for a wireless tower on 87.14 acres. The map is 038, parcel number is 033, land lots 98, 99, and 107 in the land district 3. The wireless tower is permitted in A1 agriculture and forestry zoning, and that is the zoning for this piece of property. The Planning Commission recommendation was approval with the evidence to be provided to verify the tower complies with and meets all federal and state requirements. The plan of recommendations was approval. Okay, sir?
All right, before you speak,
yes, sir.
I'm the reason you're here. Okay, all right? My concerns were, it's not that I'm opposed to the tower, because I think we need as many towers in our county as we can get. But I've only been a commissioner 9 months, and I really couldn't understand the map. And I tried to take the map and do the coverage. Yes, it looked like my 5-year-old grandson doing this. And so I was concerned with it looked like to me the coverage was only right on the interstate. And so that's why I asked if we could move it back some 87 acres, maybe raise the tower to broaden the coverage out, maybe move it to the east side. You know, that's where I was from. I've had 8 or 9 people email me in the last couple of days that they think the tower is going to be at exit 30, and this is going to be at exit 34. And I thought there was already a tower down near exit 30, but I could be mistaken on that. But that was my whole question. It was not that I was opposed to the tower. I just had these questions because I didn't really understand how the coverage was going to be and if we were going to get most of the citizens, because I was concerned about our citizens getting the coverage, not just people driving up and down the interstate. even though I know our first responders and all that need more coverage. So hopefully that'll, you know.
That'll narrow my topic
Right,
of discussion.
yeah.
Let me hand you guys one of these, and it'll answer your question. So, good evening. My name is Andy Ropenstrike. I'm here on behalf of Verizon Wireless. Good to see you guys again. I think I met most of you guys a couple of years ago. We had one near the airport. I am here on behalf of Brian Devine, and who filed the application on behalf of Verizon Wireless. We have here Leslie Keating and Glenn Finney. Glenn is an engineer with Verizon Wireless and is involved in the review and strategy for deciding where the towers need to be to get the coverage Verizon needs. So he's here if you have any questions. What I handed you is something to hopefully give you kind of a bigger picture, right? Because you're asking all the right questions. And so what I wanted to do is kind of give you a 10,000-foot view so maybe I can better understand it. So you'll see on the first page it says existing sites, and then it has a list of sites going down onto the next 2 pages to number 14. That is 14 existing sites that Verizon has in Harris County now, as we sit here today. Starting on page 3, it says future sites. And you'll see 1 and 2 on that page, and going to the next page down to number 9 where it says Wildcat. Those are 9 new sites proposed by Verizon Wireless, or will be proposed, coming through your process through the ordinance over the next year or 2. That's the plan. There will be more coming. So what I wanted to point out to you was that this is but one of several. So we will be covering the areas you want us to be covering. It may not be with this site, but if approved, we can then keep moving along and start bringing our next sites up to get your approval. So the next 2 pages are the maps to which you refer to. So just to get you oriented, right, on the colors, because that is important. You see the little dots with the green and the yellow around them. Those are existing sites in this small area on this map, right? So the green is what we refer to typically as in-building coverage. That's the best coverage. That's what you want, right? We can operate our phones, our laptops, our iPads on Verizon service inside buildings like this. As you get further from the tower, the signal dissipates and you get into the yellow areas, which we typically refer to as in-vehicle coverage, right? So again, your phone should operate pretty consistently in a vehicle, should operate in most, maybe residences, but when you get into commercial buildings with the thicker walls, maybe not. And then when you get out into the red, that's outdoor coverage, which is where you have to go outside and raise your left arm and your right leg in order to get your phone to connect. So we're trying to turn the red into yellow and green, all right? This is existing coverage today. Turn the page. That is the next, the same map, but with this site turned on. So you see the additional green and the yellow. That's what this site accomplishes. And you're right, this is along the interstate, it is along Highway 18, which is a major area for us because we're have customers with dropped calls. They're not able to connect even because there's no yellow there, right? So, and first responders and all the travelers in and out, residents of Harris County as well. But what I really wanted to show you then is the next page. So this is the same type of map, same colors apply, but just zoomed out. I wanted you to see the bigger picture, right? We got a lot of red in there that we're trying to fill in, and we're working to do that. If you turn to the next page, which is the last page in that packet, and compare it to this page, you'll see many more dots with green and yellow around them. Those are those 9 sites that I showed you on page 4 that are coming to be turned on. Whether they may be new towers, they may be existing towers where Verizon just hangs our antennas on. That's what we prefer. Building a new tower is the last resort. Right. So I wanted to give you the picture to answer your question that we are coming to various places in Harris County, so I hope that answers your concerns in that regard. The other question, and I'll hand this out if you could advance it. Let's just take one. one of the other concerns I heard was the proximity of the pole to the off-ramp, which, again, is another very good question and one that you should ask. So what I'm handing out now is the first page hopefully addresses that concern. So this is the site plan that was submitted and shows you the distances highlighted in yellow from the pole to all the property lines, right, the surrounding property. And we are greater than the height of the tower to any property line. So in the very unlikely event the pole were to fall over, and it does not fall like a tree, it is strongest at its base. If anything, the top bends and falls down. The bottom stays put. But if, in the unlikely event it were to fall over, it still would not even leave the property that it's on. If you look at the property line itself is still about 100 feet from the pavement, so you've got some extra buffer there. So hopefully that'll quell your concerns there. The second page of this, I really just wanted to direct your attention to the right side that I highlighted, just to show you what kind of pole we're suggesting here. It's the least obtrusive type of pole that we have, just a single pole like power poles and stuff. Same manufacturers make the poles, they're just typically a little taller. And then the next page is just the minutes from your, not the minutes, but part of your package showing the planning staff approval and planning commission recommendation. And then lastly, I wanted you to just see this letter from a licensed engineer from the company that is going to be manufacturing this tower, stating that you can design these towers to have breakpoints at different points along the pole. And that this tower will be designed for a breakpoint that will make it bend over, like I suggested, and stay within the compound. Not only the parent parcel, but within the fence compound, if it were to fail.
Right.
So, sorry to throw all that on you, but I was trying to address the questions that I think were coming up.
That's good.
All right, so other than that, I'm happy to try and answer any questions. We've got Mr. Finney here, we've got Leslie Keating here who helped with the development of the site.
Oh.
Yeah, so ask if there are any questions.
All right, so if, and I know that I'm assuming, and we all know what assuming does, that the optimal place to put the tower is right there because of the height of the property and the topography. I would assume that would be, because I know that in our county we have, I've been here all my life, I know our topography is this way. If the tower, if you could move it back and raise it a little bit, would that get into a situation where, and I don't want y'all to have to move this tower where we gotta go through this whole process again, that's not my concern. But was there a way to tweak it, raise it, move it back a little further, to raise it, to see if that would make the coverage further out? If there's not, there's not. I may not be phrasing the question.
No, you are. Is this the optimal spot on the property? Is that a fair?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, so the answer is yes, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, believe it or not, there actually is a little bit of an elevation change from where the tower is to the back of the property. It's about 15 feet drop. This tower is at such a height where at 200 feet above ground, the FAA requires that you light it. Put a light on top, a beacon, flashing light, which at night, most people wish to avoid. So we typically try to keep it under 200 feet if we can. There is such a thing also as building a tower too high, where your signal might overshoot your intended target. So we don't want to be too high for that reason. And then with all the towers that you see that are already here and with which are proposed, they have to kind of work like a honeycomb, right? Like a network, a cell network. So moving it 1,000 feet this way or that way absolutely makes a difference because it pulls that coverage 1,000 feet. Pulls it away from some areas you're trying to cover and may double cover others. It is a science, it's not an art. The signal dictates to Mr. Finney where he needs to go and what height. So, could we move it 20, 30 feet? Yes, we could. The issue with that is our landowner one day wants to leave his options open to possibly develop that parcel, right? I mean, he's in a prime location off of the interstate exit. So he has asked us to be in this area, which worked for us because it was a little higher ground, so that in the future, if there's an opportunity for development, we're out of the way.
Right.
We're 100-foot by 100-foot square on his property. So he can work around us in a lot of ways if we're kind of not right in the middle. And so that had something to do with it.
Yeah, and I spoke to the landowner and talked about that, and so, I knew where he was going, you know, he explained that to me, and I understood that too. And like I said, my only concern about the whole thing was not the tower itself, it's just the coverage and trying to, because I know that we don't have very good coverage in that area. I mean, I live out in that area, and I've had everybody email me and tell me we don't, and I know we don't, so I was just trying to make sure we get the best optimal coverage for the most people. Of course, at that time, I didn't know we have 9 more sites and any of that, so that, you know, I appreciate you bringing that, because that makes me feel a little bit better knowing we may not get them right now, but we may be able to get them, pick them up down the road.
Well, hopefully I can bring that site that we weren't able to get through a couple of years ago back up and not have as many pilots show up. Maybe we can help get that one, because that one is closer to the area you're talking about and would cover the area where you are. So we've got the right person here hearing this, so hopefully we can get that running.
And like I said, you can't really see where the roads were, so that's kind of on the map. So that's really where my questions came, is I couldn't really tell.
Those are all very fair questions and questions we get a lot. So I appreciate you asking them, because sometimes we want to know what questions you guys have so we can try and address them.
I appreciate you coming. I don't have any more questions, I don't think. I know I'm the only one talking.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
appreciate your traveling and. Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
Thank you, Judge. Good to see you. Yes, sir.
The next item on our agenda is something we do every year, and I'm proud to do this. We have a proclamation that we would like to issue for ABWA Day, which is American Business Women's Association Day, and I will read the proclamation. Whereas the American Business Women's Association was founded in 1949 and is a national association of working women that has a strong tradition of promoting the advancement of women. And whereas business, economic, and social analyses indicate that the current trends of women entering the workforce and attaining increasingly responsible positions will continue to contribute to the betterment of businesses and communities. And the mission of the American Business Women's Association is to bring together business women of diverse occupations and to provide opportunities for them to help themselves and others grow personally and professionally through leadership, education, networking, support, and national recognition. And whereas American Business Women's Association Day was initiated in 1982 as a national day on which Americans can recognize the achievements of the millions of employed women in the United States, and whereas joint congressional resolutions were passed in 1983 and 1986, designating September the 22nd as National American Business Women's Day. Now therefore, the Harris County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim Sunday, September the 22nd, 2019, as American Business Women's Day in Harris County, so proclaimed the 17th day of September, 2019. Is there a motion?
I make the motion, because my mother was a businesswoman.
Well, good, and I'll second that motion. All in favor? Motion carries. Would you ladies like to come down for a photo op? Please.
know, get out the photo op.
And then you gotta find somebody to take a picture. Richard, would you take this picture for us, please?
Yeah, sounds like it.
All right, the next item on our agenda are the financial statements for June and July 2019. The first is for June 2019. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Are there any questions of Clint, our CFO?
Some of the, accounts that went over their budget, I know the total of each department did not go over their budget, and
Right.
overall was not over the budget, but there were some individual line items that were over budget, and I'm just gonna take elections as one example. There are a couple of places in elections that went over budget, and we have an election coming up in November. So after you saw the June 30 statement, did you look into the current budget to see if we had budgeted enough, if it looked like we would be covered where those overages were, or talk to the department heads about those overages?
Yes and no. As long as the total within each, so supplies as a division or accounting structure under elections, as long as supplies total was under, okay, as long as purchase contract services is under, even though one may be over in that, because they're able to move money around within that, that sector of accounts. Because that's the way that we appropriate the budget, when you guys vote the budget, it's appropriated by that division, by those supplies, by personal services, by capital outlays. So as long as each one are under. Now, I do look while we're building the budget, and if some are up there, I do make sure that we try to, if one is looking like it's 105% of what it should be. You know, Randy and I get together and I said, that looks like we need to bump that up.
Yeah.
Maybe 10%.
We'll have that discussion anyway.
Yes.
Well, I was just worried.
And we have the discussion with each department head during the budget building process.
Well, I just don't have an election, don't have new voting
Right.
machines and all those kinds of things.
And that was
And we
taken
were
into account.
over in, I think, let's see, let's see exactly. It wasn't supplies, it was like hours, poll workers, and, contracted services, I think, is what it was. If I put me on it. You look at that page? What page is that?
It's page 8
was in, well, postage was one, but I wasn't concerned about that, but in, the dues and fees and contract labor, that's the one, contract labor. Poll workers' fees, poll worker pays. Okay.
And I believe in this specific case, where that was addressed was, what we have is we have the regular employees line that addresses salaries for individuals within this department. But we also have the contract labor line that, again, is poll worker pay. Between these two, the salary lines were both covered, as far as pay goes, between regular employees and the poll worker pay within here. Again, when I did see that amount, and I talked with Sherelle and asked to make sure that we budgeted tighter for that, for this year. So again, that's an area where I saw that if we see one, I like to leave some of these. You're asking about why are some of these over budget. I like to leave some so that when we are doing the budgets, so in the total contract services, I make sure we're under, but I want to leave that we went over so that when we are budgeting for the next year, oh, that one was over, I need to address that. If I look at it and it's at 100%, it may not trigger us to say, to look at that line, specific line item when we're actually building the budget. That's why I'm more focused on the total line to make sure that we're under, and I've addressed the issue.
I just want to make sure we have enough for the election.
I believe we budgeted.
And Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did receive that one email back a month or so ago, and we're not exactly sure exactly what it may cost us.
This new voting system and its
Yes.
impact to the county,
Yes.
from my point of view, it's uncertain.
Correct.
We don't know what
No,
cost
we
will
don't.
impact us.
We don't know yet. Don't know what our cost might be.
But I like to also point out, Board of Elections, as we're talking about it, the budget at June 30, the end of the fiscal year, that particular department only spent 79.48% of its total budget.
Yeah.
So it's 20% below budget.
There was no department that was over budget.
No.
Let's make that clear. And of course, the total budget was not over the budget amount. But just looking through it and seeing a few places where line items were, I just wanted to know how you were addressing those, especially in some places in Florida as well.
And we budgeted so conservatively on revenue that it allows us on these expenses to be able to, because, I mean, by revenue, we were right at 2% over, which to me is right on. When you look at $40 million budget.
Yeah, that was one thing that I had noticed too. We were very conservative on that. So I would be quite a bit more.
That's good budgeting.
That's good. It's a good issue to have.
Thank you, Penny.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor for approval. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, the motion carries. The next is the financial statement for July of 2019. Is there a motion? Motion to approve. A motion to approve. And a second. Are there any questions? I have one, please. And I thought I was really doing a good job at marking it, but it's on the community center.
Okay.
And I think, if I recall, in July, on the revenue side, the memberships, yeah, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that $10,000 for the month of July?
Now, that's a report that I get from the community center.
Right.
That goes into the next month, but it accrues back for that month. But it is so it was for the time period of July up through whatever date that was. So it may include a little bit of August in
I
there
thought
also.
that was high.
Well, it's an accrual piece from the next month back to the month. So if I were to truly break it down, it might be 7 for one, or 5 for one, and 3 for the other, or 2 for the other, whatever the amount
Okay.
is. And that is for that time period of what that was taken into.
Okay. I thought it was, I thought that's pretty good for one.
So at the end of August, when that one comes in, it'll probably balance itself back to the, figure for 2 months worth of, maybe a little bit higher, but when they give me that report, it's a little bit after, because they close it out, a little bit after the time frame that I run this report, so.
Okay. That's all I have. Anybody have anything else? They want to ask Clint? Okay, there's a motion, a second.
Second.
Harry, one.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion is approved. Thank you so much. The next item on the agenda is a tax request, refund request. It is one request for Christopher County Greca, and the amount is $1,406.32. The reason is the customer paid the TAVT in error. He is a 100% disabled veteran. The tax commissioner agrees. Mr. Greca is a 100% disabled veteran. He gets one exemption, and he's using it on this vehicle. The Board of Tax Assessors agrees. Is there a motion?
Motion. I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions? All right, all those in favor? Motion carries. All right, the next item on our agenda is our county manager.
Madam Chairman, Board of Commissioners, the next item is the LMIG 2020 projects. Every year, the county, all the counties in Georgia, including Harris, receives a letter from the Georgia Department of Transportation requesting their road resurfacing needs. Harris County's 2020 allocation for GDOT is $838,498.57. Again, that is formula-based. We get about that much every year to be used for resurfacing projects in the county. And the state requires a 10% local match of $83,849.86, which will have a total project budget of about $922,348,000. The Public Works Director has identified 3 roads that need resurfacing as follows. Hart Road, beginning at State Route 315 to the dead end, about 1.5 miles. And the estimated cost to resurface that road is $392,000. Watkins Road, from Hart Road to the dead end, about 0.3 miles. It's an additional $26,500 estimated cost. And Hamilton Pleasant Grove Road, from the Hamilton city limits to 300 feet past Nathan Thompson Road. That's about 4.4 miles. At $510,000 estimated cost to resurface that road. So when you combine all 3 roads, it's 6.2 miles. At an estimated cost to resurface those roads, $928,500. This road improvement project was included in the approved budget with required 10% match coming from SPLOST 2014. Bid overages, if any, will also come from SPLOST 2014. If approved, this road resurfacing project will be bid out during early 2020 and be completed by June 30, the end of the fiscal year. So a motion vote needed to submit these roads to GDOT, and then we'll get our funding from GDOT, and then we'll wait until next year during the paving season to actually pave the project and to be finished by the end of the fiscal year. Mike Bryan is here to answer any questions the board may have.
Do you know how happy I am to see Hart Road and Watkins Drive on this? I
I'll
am
be
thrilled.
happier than you.
Thank you, Mike. It desperately needs it.
Yes, ma'am.
How long has the county owned Watkins Road? Is that a newer road? Is that part of the subdivision?
It's been, since I've been here.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
What would we consider the paving season like?
I'm sorry?
What would you consider the paving season? The reason I ask is because Hamilton Pleasant Grove Road, that's a main thing for buses getting in and out to the school.
That was one thing that I was gonna mention. It would be nice to wait and try to hit it during the break, the school break.
Right.
But a lot of times it doesn't work like that, but when I saw that on there, I thought about, you know, it might be better to do it, at least have some time in the summer break for the schools.
Because I know that a lot of the buses come that way, because I get behind 3, 4 buses every morning. I mean, it's just, I didn't know, that's why I asked. Yeah, if you could do it during the break, that would probably be real good. That way it won't keep the kids on the bus going around different route, but I don't know.
And we've got all those homes in Park Reserve now, little ones,
Right,
and that road is gonna take an extensive amount of work.
right.
That's why the cost is so, it's gonna
Yes,
be
it is terrible.
a soil reclamation on that road.
Yeah, terrible shape.
And I'd like to tell you that I appreciate you putting up the sign that said no through traffic for the transfer trucks, because I know that those trucks coming in that way are taking them, beating on that road too. And they get into that, down the mountain, try to make that turn, and you can't make it back on the bottom of the road.
Any other questions for Mike? I'll make the motion to approve these 3 roads.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion, a second. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, Randy?
Madam Chairman, Board of Commissioners, the next item is a proposal to join the state of Georgia's fuel fleet card program. In your agenda package, you have various reasons to go from the existing way the county does business of having underground fuel tanks that are at the end of their existing life, and to avoid that cost and to piggyback on the Georgia's fuel program, whereby each of the county trucks and equipment and vehicles would go to established retail stores in the county and anywhere else to buy their fuel at virtually the same cost we're paying now, and avoid the future cost of underground fuel tank replacements, fuel card readers, and making it more effective for EMS and law enforcement people to stay in their zones, not come back into Hamilton to get fuel, which will increase the response times. So Jamie is going to be talking about this proposal to join the state's fleet card program, and Nashaya is also here from the WEX program. She covers Georgia when it comes to the Georgia program, and she was nice enough to be here to answer any questions the board may have. I'm going to give it over to Jamie.
Thank y'all for allowing me to present this. Just like the community center, back through the time, has been a bane of my existence. This fuel system has become a bane of my existence. I've mentioned this fuel card system probably a year ago. I brought it back up in January, brought it back up in March. So finally I did some research on what it would entail. And in that research I found out that there's a Georgia contract with the state of Georgia for fleet cards that we can piggyback on by absolutely nothing. So it's free. So that's one good thing. It's not going to cost us anything to piggyback on their contract. Now, where would the benefits for us come in at? Well, one, the benefit would be because starting in, I think they've changed the year to 2022, if they don't readjust it, if you have an underground tank system, you will now have to start performing monthly inspections. Not only checking the monthly inspection, but then you will have to go to the website that they give you. You will have to report everything within that website monthly. If you miss a month, you get fined. Okay? So, the problem with that existing would be, Mr. Brown doesn't have time for monthly inspections. I don't have time for monthly inspections. So somewhere down the line, a couple of monthly inspections might get overlooked. Okay? But also, our tanks are old. They're gonna need replacing probably within the next 4 or 5 years. I've talked with the company, and replacing the tanks would cost probably about roughly around $100,000. That would be the removal of tanks, and it if we went that route, my proposal would be to go above ground and get away from the underground, so you don't have to do all the reports and stuff. But in that process, that's when I come across the fleet card process. Now, the benefit is, let's just say, for instance, you have an ambulance from Mountain Hill over here fueling up in Hamilton, gets a call to go right over there to the Chevron station, over there on 315. Well, a 5-minute response time from the Mountain Hill station to a 25 or 30-minute response time from the station or Hamilton pump for them to get fuel at. If somebody's having a heart attack, 25 minutes to 5 minutes is a big difference. Not only that, but they probably get 8 miles to the gallon. So you're traveling 20 miles over here to get gas, traveling 20 miles back over there. So now you've just wasted probably 4 or 5 gallons of gas just making that trip. Not only losing maybe 45 minutes to an hour of the person's time. So, and then at night they have to come unlock the gate, get the fuel, lock the gate back, and then go to wherever they got to go. The simplest thing for them would be able to do, if they were just transporting to Columbus, quarter tank of gas, pull in the station in Columbus, put the card in, fill up the tank, go right back to their station. Now they don't have to leave there and go all the way back to Hamilton, get gas, and then go all the way back to the Mountain Hill station, or Waverly Hall, either way. And then, of course, from a police department, if they're patrolling on the west side, they have to come all the way back over here on the east side to refuel. If somebody's over there, say over on the 219 area, and they got to come all the way over here to get gas, but all of a sudden they get a call for domestic or something over there, now, same thing, response time has gone from 5 to 10 minutes to now 30 to 40 minutes. So I think that we would benefit if we would go to the fleet card services. I've talked with everybody was in agreement with it. So I just think it would be beneficial for the county to go to this service. Then we can do away with the card reader, we can do away with the fuel tank. Now this, just so you'll know, this does not discard our diesel system, okay? We need our diesel system down there because we don't want our garbage trucks pulling into up here to Circle K to fill up and leave all that stuff all over the ground. Then, of course, the county would be called, or I would be called, to come up there and pressure wash the parking lot. So we would still need to maintain that, which that still needs a card reader, because that one has not worked in a year. But we can at least start the process by eliminating our gas card system.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How will the cards be managed? I mean, they're not tied to an individual.
They're tied to a
the
vehicle, yes, ma'am.
And how will you manage that? In other words, I drive the vehicle and I need to go gas up. So where will the cards be? I guess that's what.
In the car.
So
The
they
card
will be
stays in the
the
vehicle, yes, ma'am. Cards will stay in the vehicle, they'll be assigned to that vehicle,
Not to an individual.
not to an individual. They'll be attached to that vehicle. Of course,
I would,
you know all of our vehicles are attached to individuals. You
What,
don't
right,
nobody share
right, yeah, but
vehicles.
the card itself.
But the card itself cannot be moved
Yeah,
around.
that's what I.
Yeah, I just wondered about.
Because the card, the good thing with this card, with this program is, the WEX card stays with the card.
Right.
Therefore, when they get gas, we're gonna have, users put in some, information, their individual PIN number to track the person.
Okay.
Also, odometer readings, so we can do some data analytics, miles per gallon, gallons per vehicle. Those kind of things that we're not capturing now. So that will give us a variety of managerial reports to see how fuel efficient that car is, to see if that car or truck is even being used. So we can track all that stuff that we can't track now. And I'll bet you, I went to the website, and there's all kind of reports that you can make to determine the use of that vehicle and how much gallons people are using for their PIN number. So it's a pretty sophisticated, data-driven program.
It's almost too good to be true.
Well, if an individual
This is
bent-
old school.
Yeah.
This has been around for a long time.
But if an individual is bent toward not being honest, they could use that card to fill up another vehicle,
Well,
their personal vehicle.
okay,
So
you
my
could,
question
but
is,
you have to
how are
be
you
smart enough.
monitoring? So,
Yeah, the
some are.
security of it.
Look,
No, she's gonna answer that one for you.
okay. Seen it happen, but wait until I finish.
Okay.
So my question is, who's going to be monitoring the reports? I mean, I hear you say we don't have time to do a monthly inspection, but somebody's got to be looking at this data to see if those kinds of things are happening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If someone is bent on trying to
Been there, done that.
find a way around the system, they will be able to. The good thing about our system, like Randy was saying, is we've got some parameters in place. So we've got different, what we refer to them as profiles. So there's different profiles that you can set up, and in those profiles, they're called exceptions and limits. So we can kind of set some parameters around the use of each card. We can set those parameters up by department so that if someone tries to use the card 4 times per day, for example, and their department states that they shouldn't, automatically the card won't go through. They can call someone, so if Randy is gonna be the responsible individual, they can call Randy and say, hey Randy, my card declined, I've tried to use it, it's my 4th time today. And then Randy and that person can have a conversation about if you need to fill up the vehicle 4 times for the day. Also, if someone puts in a wrong odometer reading, when they are trying to get the pump authorized, we've got different parameters in place, different alerts that we can set up. So even if you don't have time to monitor the report daily, we're assuming that you're not. We're assuming that that's not going to be something that you want to put on your list of things to do every day. We can set up automatic email alerts so that you're automatically notified if something outside of the ordinary happens or if something outside of the profile has happened. And then that way it will give you time to be able to go in and look at the system. There's also, like Randy was saying, we have a clear view system, which is a complete data analytics system, which allows you, instead of a spreadsheet where now you have to go through and kind of dig for the information, it gives it to you in a visual format so that you can really easily see your cost outliers. That way you have a very good starting point to see kind of where some outstanding features happen that maybe you need to dig a little bit deeper on.
And also, Chris would be the one monitoring. She monitors now. She's the one that does all the monitoring of the fueling at the stations now. So she would still be the one that would be monitoring the usage of these fleet cards.
But I would make it a responsibility of the department head to go into the system, analyze their particular fleet to make sure everything's working properly, and then as another mechanism, have Chris, who's doing the work now in HR, have her do it as a redundancy. So surely between the department head and another person reviewing these, on a frequent basis, not every day, but on a frequent basis,
Monthly at least.
we can see anomalies, we can see issues that arise that are outside the parameters, get email alerts that something's not quite right, something needs to be investigated, and then we can take appropriate action. What's very scary to me as a manager, we don't have any of these safeguards in place now, and I haven't had them in years. For example, the gas, even though you need the card reader, it goes out a lot. Jamie has to be called in the early morning hours to go reset the gas card reader. That needs to be replaced, and that's in the budget, but we want to avoid that cost. But right now, there is no safeguards of getting gas. The diesel tank, the diesel card reader hasn't worked in a long time. It's on the honor system right now with paper and pencil. There's no safeguards on that. And then I found out in Waterworks, they have above ground gas and diesel tanks. There's no card readers at all. It's been on the honor system for decades. And I want to change that. I want to put a card reader in there to have some accountability for gas and diesel being used at Waterworks. So that's part of the mix in here, to add Waterworks to the program, to make sure everybody's held accountable for their gas and diesel usage. Right now, managerially, it's not working. This Wex card program would be light years ahead of what we have now. It's free. There's no cost. It's piggybacked on a state program. It will avoid a lot of future costs and make our law enforcement and public safety more responsive, less time wasting. I just think it's a great program. You can see in the agenda package how many other counties use this in the state. And plus, once you go to a retail convenience store or retail, we buy gas without any government fuel, any government taxes. When we go to a convenience store, Rex will know that we are a government user, and they will shave off all of the taxes that we don't need to pay. Plus, since we have underground fuel tanks, we pay the underground fuel tank tax. But if we pull up our gas tank, that's one less tiny tax to pay, and we might even have a cost savings in the prices we pay now.
So that was my next question, was will we have to remove those underground tanks at some point anyway?
At some point you will, yes, ma'am.
But they're not to the point where they're
No,
leaking
ma'am.
or anything right
No,
now?
ma'am. They're not.
So how will we know when they begin leaking? We need to remove them before that. I mean, how do,
Both
we need to have a plan. to
Both
remove
tanks
them.
have a pressure tester,
Mhm.
and
Does it work?
yeah, because it has to, if it fails so much, then,
We have the professional test.
all right.
What's a year?
So at some point,
Yes.
though, we need the budget to have those removed just to get rid of them.
Going down gradually,
Yeah.
every year.
Now,
Yeah,
just to remove one, it's gonna cost about 18 to 20. And that's for them to come in there, to fill it, pull it up.
they'll test the soil all around
Yeah,
it, make sure
yeah,
it's
yeah.
all
And
clean.
that doesn't count if there's something
I know.
outside the tank.
So we do have.
But we do have, I think we have insurance through the underground storage that we pay. That will cover some of that
Take
cost.
clean up.
And every station in Harris County is covered under the WEX card. I did research on that. You should, it's in your packet as well. So I could not find one that did not cover.
When we have someone that has to go out of our county, like a long way, and they have to fill up with gas, how do they fill up with gas?
Same way. Oh, now they use the credit card.
Right,
on the
but if
counter.
this, now they could use this, so
Yes.
we could even track them
Right,
somewhere else, so we know if they went to that place and
Correct.
came back, or if they
Yeah.
went somewhere else.
yes, like your court services, when you
Right.
have to transport to Florida or
Right.
Texas or wherever. Now they have, you can tell exactly where they stopped and got gas, you know. And then, yeah, you can monitor.
And plus, what happens is right now, currently, if somebody goes outside, like at a conference somewhere, or taking a deputy taking someone to Florida, for extradition, whatever, and they have to stop at a convenience store to get gas. Well, they use a credit card to get gas, but they pay full price.
Right.
We don't take advantage, we can't take advantage of lower fuel prices, in those situations. But with this card, do whatever.
We couldn't out of state.
Yes.
For example,
You
with
can,
Florida, will it
yeah.
be
Yes,
Florida
the
too?
Wex card is nationwide.
Yes,
What's the timeline for the transition if we go with this?
I would say 45 days.
Basically, in my agenda item, I would say let this start January 1st, because it's gonna take a lot of effort to go to each department that has gas and diesel vehicles and equipment. Talk to each department head and set up parameters for each vehicle. For example, like Nasha said, we can set parameters, one-time fill up, all these parameters have got to be set up, such as how many
Yeah,
parameters?
there's multiple. You can do a time of day, so if you want the gas cards to automatically cut off at the end of the business day, for a specific department, you can do that. If certain departments don't work on weekends, we can have the cars automatically shut off on the weekends. If there is a gallon limit for certain vehicles, if the ambulances take a certain number of, their tank is a certain different capacity than regular sedans, we can do a capacity limit on them. We can do a dollar amount per transaction. All of those different options that you have, you can also combine them so they can multiply on top of each other, because we really want to be able to put the cost and the decision-making in your hands versus someone who's out there that's just driving the vehicle. You can also take, I believe you said your ambulances have a telematics program on there as well, so we're also able to combine the data that you get from your fuel card and combine that with your telematics program to get some enhanced information so that you're able to get some more information on the health of your ambulance.
So we would have to make each car unique to each vehicle, set those parameters, and that would take about 30 to 45 days.
It's a very simple process. We can work together with those different department heads. So if you need us maybe to touch base with them to get the information, we're able to touch base. They can tell us what they would need, and we can set those up so that when we send the cards out, they're automatically active and those profiles have been set.
Sounds so cool.
So we would only have a need for one, to purchase one concrete, right?
Yes.
For diesel, right?
Yes, it is. But then I want to add one to waterworks.
Waterworks.
Yes. But waterworks will pay for that
That was my next question.
from their enterprise fund.
Yeah, that was my next question. Okay. Great. Anyone have any other questions? Okay.
I have a curiosity question. May I ask a question?
Is there a motion which,
I'll make the motion because it seems to me like it'll have more accountability for everybody. It'll save some fuel, it may save some money in the long run. I'll make the motion that we go with this program.
okay, there's a motion and a second. This authorizes us to participate in the program. So,
We can't get turned down again.
all right, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Thank you for coming down. Thank you for
Thank you very
sharing.
much.
Okay, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, item number 8 is a renewal of a lease purchase agreement for heavy equipment for public works. Back in 2014, the county did execute a 5-year lease purchase agreement with Yancey Caterpillar to lease purchase 6 pieces of heavy equipment for the Public Works Department. Those pieces of equipment consisted of 3 motor graders, a wheel loader, a track loader, and a bulldozer. The 5-year lease purchase agreement expires in late December of this year. The Public Works Department would like to turn in the old equipment back to Caterpillar, renew the lease purchase agreement for an additional 5 years, and pick up 6 brand new pieces of equipment that's needed for county operations that we learned from the tornado in March of this year, that we need various pieces of equipment. So those new pieces of equipment are a track loader, a bulldozer, a wheel loader, 2 motor graders, and a mini excavator. This equipment will be the 2019 or the 2020 model year. After factoring in the trade-in values of the old equipment, the total amount to be financed is $419,233,000, or about $90,297 per year. That's principal and interest each year for the next 5 years. And this will be at a fixed interest rate of 3.85%. This lease purchase agreement renewal was included in the budget, in the approved budget, and is contained within the Public Works Department. The budget amount was $55,000, but the amount needed is right at $45,000. So basically, we need a motion and vote needed to approve the 5-year lease purchase agreement with Yancey Caterpillar, authorize the county manager to execute all necessary related documents, and if approved, this will allow Caterpillar to have sufficient time to order this heavy equipment and have it delivered to the county when the lease expires, so when they deliver the new equipment, they can at the same meeting, at the same time, take back their old equipment. Mike Brown's here to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay. Any questions?
Explain to me bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, where it says $90,000 a year, and 5, where it says the amount needed $45,000. What is it?
It's half a budget year.
Okay.
Because when it expires in December, our budget only January through June. So we need about 45,000, which is half the 90,000.
And then you'll do the other half in the 2020 budget.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's 45 this year. Let me say the same question. That's a lot, that's all.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was, but I wanted to make sure.
45 is a half a budget year from January to June, because the lease expires in December, but the 90,000 is on an annualized basis.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Any questions for Mike? Any questions? Is there a motion?
I make the motion that we approve this to turn in our current equipment and to lease purchase the equipment described in this item.
Is there a second?
And I think we've done this, we've done this before, 2014, and on several occasions, they were all these things over.
We have, no other discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, Randy?
The next item is the project update. Okay, I'm gonna get the high points, but there's a lot of them. Number 2, countywide email system. We purchased a countywide email system off a state contract using Microsoft Outlook, which is the industry standard emails product. We're implementing that now. It should be fully implemented by early December of this year. So every employee can have an email system that says harriscountyga.gov. And their personal email systems at Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail will all be taken away. So everybody will have a harriscountyga.gov email beginning in early December.
And we'll be able to use that particular handle that you just said?
Yes, everybody. So we are, because the old system we have is maxed out in its users. Number 6, we did receive 2 Jaws of Life tools already delivered and in use, and the cardiac monitors for EMS has been ordered with delivery in mid-October. Number 9, that was discussed today and approved. So number 9 is on its way to completion in late December this year. Number 10 was discussed today, and that is on its way to having a very good resolution. Number 12 was discussed tonight. A lot of things getting done tonight. Basically submitting the 2020 LMIG road list to GDOT so they can give us our $800,000 check so we can resurface those roads in the spring. Restrip 18 county roads, number 13. Peak Pavement got that bid, and they should be finished by November 30th. To restrip 18 county roads for safety. Number 18, modernize the community center's pool equipment. We're preparing bids right now. That bid will go out on Monday.
Have y'all communicated with the high school that that pool will be out of commission for a certain period of time because they may have to do something with
We're
the swim
hoping,
team?
basically our goal is to have the pool kept open during construction. And when it's not open for during this construction, is to have it after hours. That is our goal that we're targeting right now. But if it's not, then we'll make sure we coordinate with the swim team.
Yeah, because I'm gonna say that they'll start swimming here. They got the class over there, but they'll start their season pretty soon.
Number 21, Ellerslie Park Lodge, to repair that is on bid. The bid opening is October 7th, with board consideration October 15th. Number 22, chip and grind the collected storm debris at Ellerslie Park. That project is on schedule, continuing, should be finished by late October. Number 24, rebuild a soccer complex pavilion at the soccer field. Concrete work has been done, and Wood has been erected.
Walls have been framed.
Walls have been framed. So that part is going pretty well. Soccer board is being coordinated with.
And it's not on here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there some work going to be done on the parking area?
Yes,
For the soccer field?
yes.
Is that,
That has not been done yet.
okay, do we have any idea when it might be?
Soon.
So,
Soon.
okay.
Is that 23?
That's number 23.
Yes.
Soon. Number 26, Roads to Trails. Phase 1 is going very well. It should be finished by the end of this year. Phases 2 and 3, that will be on the bid, that will be on the board's agenda for next meeting, October 1st, for consideration and possible award. And phases 2 and 3 should be completed by early March of 2020. Again, hitting the high points. Number 39, update the county's land use development codes for community development department. That RFQ is on bid. The bid deadline is October 18th, and board consideration is scheduled for November 19th, and completion of the project by June 30 of next year. Number 40, Melly Lakes Dam. We're still waiting for the state to approve this or submitted recommendations. Waiting for the state. Number 42, mulch 35 acres at the Northwest Harris Business Park. Talked to those folks today, and they are virtually finished. I am sending up the surveyor tomorrow or Thursday or Friday to confirm that 35 acres has been mulched to make sure we got our money's worth, which I think we have. So once the surveyor says 35 acres has been mulched, we're going to pay final payment, but that is ahead of schedule. That project should be completed by the end of this month.
How's it look?
Looks great. I got pictures and a video.
Good.
Looks great. It looks a lot different. So basically, that is the high points in a nutshell. Be more happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Anyone have any questions?
I know it's not on here, you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the elections. Do we know where we're going to store those new machines, or where we're going to store the old machines? Or are we just going to look at Jamie and say, hey, handle it?
Well, I know those units have to be in a secured area, and I think the storage unit is in the old courthouse. The old portion of the courthouse.
From my understanding, when they bring the new machines, they're supposed to take the old machines with them.
I was just saying, we talked about elections earlier, and it just dawned on me we're getting all those new machines.
From my understanding, when they bring the new ones, they're supposed to take the old ones with them.
Okay, no other questions? All right, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, ma'am, I have two items, or actually two contracts, but it's on one item. This is the intergovernmental agreements, there are two separate agreements, one with Hamilton, one with Shiloh. A few years ago, we entered into an intergovernmental agreement with Hamilton and also with Shiloh to help these two small communities maintain their vehicles. I think it's worked well, but both Hamilton has a few more vehicles than Shiloh has. I think Shiloh's only got 4, and then there are a few more from there. But what we've done is agreed to do some maintenance work on the vehicles and repair cost, and then we've increased the cost of this operation for both of these up to $50 per hour. The labor cost, and then the shop materials at 4% of the total ticket cost. Overtime, if it happens during overtime hours, or it's going to cause overtime, and they'll pay at the rate of $75 an hour. Service is billed monthly, and either party can terminate the contract within 90 days written notice. And both contracts are identical in price and the amount of that the county charges each one of the two cities. I recommend this to you for your approval, and it's
questions? No discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Is there's no need for executive session?
No, ma'am, not that I am aware of.
Anyone have any other subjects or issues that we need to discuss? If not, I will